Okay, so the Heart of Texas Rally is over. Again, I made another 2 critical errors, and it cost me big time. Pretty disappointed. I thought I was well prepared, had a really good plan. I worked hard on the plan. I wrote it efficiently, but still made a very big mistake that cost me big time in the points and frustrated me. Maybe rally riding's not for me. Maybe I just need to stick riding just cert rides or something. I don't know. Pretty frustrating. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you where I made a mistake, how I made my mistake, and hopefully you can learn from mine. All right, let's get to it. Okay, this is the route that I settled in on. Overall, the route was 2,400 miles. I decided I was going to start in this area. It was going to allow me to grab some points here. There was 3 meal breaks that were very important to the score. One here, and one over here. So first day I would grab this one. I was going to swoop down, grab these points, take my break in this area. Second day, come around. This was a big combo, and then go up here. Now my original plan was to grab all these, get this the second day, come around third day, and then finish. And that's what I had planned until I realized this restaurant wasn't open, or this, I don't know, one of these restaurants wasn't open, and I had to move them around. So I made a switch, and I made it work, and I'll show you what my score was going to be. So this is what my score should have been. Going for the Southern Coastal, getting a spindle top bonus, the Sour Lake bonus, as well as a unique bonus. Maximizing my rest breaks and maximizing these meal breaks. Now the meal breaks were worth 4,000 points apiece. The way these meal breaks work with the rest breaks added together, they really affect your score. So this is what I planned on, and it had 48 stops. I thought that was very doable. So let's go back to the route. Now, with this route, 2,400 miles, starting here at 6 a.m., I needed to be here, and the first leg was 290 miles. So if you see what is all dark, that's 290 miles. I was able to actually make up time there and get all my bonuses and get there actually almost an hour early. I actually arrived right at noon, and it put me an hour ahead of what I thought I was going to be. So I was doing well, and I was very pleased with that. The meal break, there was already, I don't know, 4 or 5 guys there, and it was super cool. I mean, we there for 45 minutes. I took care of some work stuff, and it worked out very well. So my next challenge, now if you look at this, this was 290 miles, and I had I had 11 stops in 290 miles. I hadn't even fueled. So I was fortunate there was a place to fuel right after that. So that was pretty simple, and I did that in pretty good time, not rushing. I rode 7 miles an hour over, which was my plan. So speed limit 75, and most of that I ran 82. So I thought that was okay. Now the next part, you're at 100 miles in between that one, and then another 80 miles, and then another 127 miles. So from lunch to here, I had another 200 miles with only 3 stops. Now what that does is it brings your average speed up, because if I run at 82 for 3 hours without any stopping, my overall speed's going to come up. So I thought that was, well, a good plan. Now, somewhere around here is when I got the email that said I had been speeding and I had a speed warning. Let me show you what that email looked like. So this is the email that I got about speeding, and here it says I'm 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, 60 and a 45, 82 and a 65, 75. So I couldn't read this much when I was riding, but these two really got me. 41 miles an hour over the speed limit, 42 miles an hour over the speed limit, 82.8 in a 40. Never in my life have I ridden 42 miles an hour over the speed limit. Never in my life. 40 miles an hour in West Texas meant I was going through a town at 82.8 miles an hour. Not in this lifetime I've ever done that, and I'm never going to admit that I did do that. I don't know what algorithm they're using, but this is incorrect. They say we can argue our point, but we're not going to win. This really frustrated me. I ran 7 to 8 miles an hour over, not 40. I disagree with that. Okay, we'll get into speed warning more, but I was pretty upset with that. I couldn't believe running 7 over. I was speeding. I don't know how they factor them in. I don't know how they do that. But when I originally planned this route, it was 996 miles day one. I wasn't going to arrive till about 11 o'clock, 11:20 at night. I was an hour and 10 minutes past where I could maximize my rest bonus. So I needed to make up an hour and 20 minutes. I ride and I compete in these things under the risk versus reward, meaning I will risk getting a ticket and run 10 over the speed limit because in these West Texas abandoned areas where there's no one around, I can make up good time. So I thought I could make up my hour and 20 minutes worth of time. But now when I'm up here in Lubbock and I get this speed warning, now I slow down, and I was pretty frustrated. I'll be honest, I was pretty frustrated. So I slowed down to 4 and 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. So I continued on until I came here. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, how I was going to even go. I wasn't sure I could finish the rally at this pace and be competitive. I built a route, I committed to a route that I wasn't sure was going to be doable with this kind of speeds that are required to run. But this was the next challenge. I took the break at my house. I was leaving, I was doing this Southern Coastal bonus, and then I had to come back to San Antonio. This bonus right here in San Antonio didn't open till 7 a.m. and if I stayed till 6 a.m. means I had about a 40-minute wait on this. So now I'm 40 minutes behind schedule again. And then if you go on, I had a total of 842 miles before my break. And let me show you one thing. So I had 842 miles to go to my break, and it has me arriving at 8:02 in the evening. That's where I need my 45-minute rest break. So you can see my route, right? All this in brown is where I need to go, and I arrive at 8:02. That's with no hiccups, no errors, no incidents. The restaurant closes at 8. So could I make it could I make up 2 minutes? Were they going to close 5 minutes early? I didn't have any leeway. So while on my break, I decided I would cut my break short and give myself an hour cushion. And then I decided I would skip this break, or skip this location, go down, and then after leaving this one, come back to grab this. After I leave this location, get this, and then over here. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, by moving that around, I added 60 miles to my route, and I added an hour. Obviously a bad choice. So what I decided to do was cut my rest break short, still end up with the same miles, but I bought myself an hour. Let me show you what that looks like score-wise. So remember, I'm at 70,000 points, but instead of getting 480 minutes, I'm only going to get 420. So now I'm down to 69,000 points. But I thought that was a good decision. However, when you look at the route, adding the miles, adding time, it was a poor decision. This bonus point that I was trying to get is only 636 points, but it was part of a combination. The smartest thing I could have done was just dropped this. So by dropping that, I dropped not a ton of miles, but I made up an hour and 20 minutes. So what has that done to my score? So we'll go back to 480. Puts me back at my 70,000. And man 12. 68,000 points. So I would have still maximized everything, dropped a little bit of points, but saved myself some time. I would have arrived without doing anything else 20 minutes earlier. So that was my first mistake. This is what I should have done. But I didn't. I stuck with my plan. I came back. I was able to get this, come around. And then this is the one in Egypt. It was a sign that we took. This is where somewhere along the lines I had an issue. I knew when I came up back to 10, I should have headed in and I was going to grab this Derrick 3 right here. And this is one of the mandatory ones. And then I was just going to make a straight shot for the restaurant. And then I was going to backtrack and grab these and then my rest break in Jasper, Texas. That was my plan. Somehow I missed this. Going point to point on my GPSs, I think I pushed in to go to this restaurant. And I was headed up this direction. I was somewhere near Bryan, College Station area when I realized my error. And I started headed this way, and I couldn't make it. I could not make it. I was going to have to drop that combination. And then I was in a panic. It was about 5 in the afternoon. I was getting hungry. I was getting tired. So I decided to find an alternative. They had other restaurants that you didn't score as many points. Like this one, I scored 1,000 points versus 4,000, but I still got the multiplier of rest versus meal. So I decided I couldn't make that, so I stopped. I went to Google Maps, I found another location, and I went to that location. And I was super happy. I found one that was 3 miles away, so I thought I was going to be fine. I get there and they were closed. At this point, I couldn't find any other restaurants. I was somewhere in here. I'm not even 100% sure where I was. Somewhere in here. And I couldn't find anything. So I stopped at a Subway. I got some food and I sent a text and I said, I think I'm going to drop. I made a fatal error. I missed my meal bonus and it's just not worth it. Well, almost immediately they responded back and said the meal bonuses aren't mandatory. You can still salvage your ride. So I sat there for a few minutes. I ate part of a sandwich and I got feeling better. And I decided, let me just go to my hotel, regroup, and figure it out from there. So that's what I did. So I ran, after I left this location in Egypt, I ran about 260 miles and never scored a single point. I got to my hotel about 10 p.m. What is this one? I couldn't find Wild Bill's either. But I got to my hotel about 10 p.m., had some gas station food, and then pulled out my computer and let me show you what I come up with. So now I managed to get this one. Let me put that back in there. So I did get that, so I was back to this point, but I dropped this. Watch what it does to your score. Holy cow, I went from 70,000 to 58,000 just by dropping my meal. Just dropping my meal. I could not believe it. So I thought I was only dropping 4,000 points. I didn't realize I was losing that multiplication factor where it combines all. I didn't realize that. So back to my route. I hadn't got this bonus either, but I decided with a little bit of work I could come down, finish grabbing these, which is my plan, and just easily drop in, grab this, come up, grab this stuff, and finish out the ride. After tweaking that in, I knew I had basically 400 miles to the finish. 500 miles. 500 miles to the finish. I was going to arrive somewhere around 3 o'clock. That still gives me an hour worth of time. Now, I took off. I had no problems getting these, was making good time. Everything was fine. I was only running 3 to 4 miles an hour over the speed limit for the last 2 days. So I'm in the right hand lane, flashers on, everyone was passing me, no issues. Now I get to my restaurant. I pulled in, walked in right after one of the top riders, and the first thing you do is start your clock for your countdown. And I did that. We sat down. Our food hadn't gotten there yet. I went to check, see how long I'd been there, and my clock didn't start. I wasted 20 minutes. Finished up, started my clock. I didn't call anyone. I didn't complain. I didn't do anything. I wasted 20 minutes. I sat there. I left, and when I got to Dallas, I was able to get this uni one that was pretty good, and then the traffic was hectic trying to go up 75. I was about 4 miles away, and I couldn't see that I was going to make it. So I had to drop man 17. So let's see what that did to my score. I went from 70,000 to 55,000, and I dropped an hour off this one and an hour off this one because I was worried I couldn't make it. 70,000 to 54,000. I was extremely bummed where I thought I had planned a very doable route. You can do it at 3 over, but you have no margin for error. None. You cannot. The only thing I stopped for was fuel and taking a photo, and I did the photo stuff really quick. I'll try to show you my technique, what I did. I used an iPad and cell phone, and I was fast, but it was brutal. If you got hungry, you better eat tank bag food because you don't have time to stop. If you got a flat and you had to stop and plug a tire, you're not going to make it. I'm that risk versus reward. If I'm running behind, I'm willing to run a little faster where it's safe. Out on the interstates, when the speed limit's 75, I'm running 78. And I'm telling you, when I got hit by bugs, they didn't die. The bike slowed down a minute. So I ran slow. It's doable, but to be competitive, you can't do that. Because I got lost, I got all jacked up, I ended up running a total of 2,465 miles, and the route should have only been 2,400. So I ran 265 miles for nothing. So pretty frustrating. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's the ride, that's the story. What do I really think of the Heart of Texas Rally? Man, it's great. I proved to myself that you can run 3 miles an hour over the speed limit and still run. I ran 1,550 miles in 2 days, riding 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. Super tough to do that. You have no time to stop and sniff flowers. You don't have time to stop and eat other than your mandatory rest breaks and those things. So when you need a cup of coffee or something to drink, you better drink it on the fly because you don't have time. If you have an issue, anyway, I could keep going and going and going, but it is doable. It's very doable. I had 45 stops. I ran 2,468 miles, something like that. The winners had over 90 stops and 2,200 miles. So be efficient on the bike, and it's a great time. The rally itself is put on. It was a really good time. I learned a ton. At some point, I'm going to stop learning and I'll be able to execute one of these things, I hope. So there you have it. Hope you learned something from my mistakes, and we'll see you next time. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Be safe.